Hey guys, so if you're losing your hair and you're investigating different treatment options, the best way to probably give you guidance as to what treatment's best is by figuring out whereabouts you are on the spectrum of hair loss. Because depending on where you are, we'd recommend different treatments. So the first thing to point out around hair loss is if you're a guy and you're losing your hair, there's 90% chance it's down to male pattern baldness. And with male pattern baldness, you're losing your hair because of a hormone called DHT. And the DHT is naturally occurring in the body, but some men are particularly sensitive to it in their hairlines, and it causes the life cycle to shorten and hair to fall out prematurely. And it's a gradual thing, so hair will gradually recede over time. And it does it in a specific pattern, so it's usually around the temples, crown area. That's when you're going to first start noticing the baldness. So if you've got light receding, where you're starting to notice that, maybe your hair's starting to recede over here in the temples or in the crown, but it's not too far gone, Finasteride and Minoxidil are great solutions for that, because what they do is they stop hair loss in its tracks, so they can make sure that you don't lose any more hair than you've already got, and you may actually regrow some hairs as well. So it's highly effective medication. It's gone through lots of different clinical trials. Finasteride works in about 90% of men, Minoxidil in about 2/3 of men. They work slightly differently. But yeah, if you're at the early stage of hair loss and you've got sort of receding there, absolutely recommend that you look at these treatments. If, however, your hair has receded quite a lot further than that, you've got significant recession, your hair's been receding for at least a few years, then that's when hair transplants start making more sense. Because what's happening with a hair transplant is you're getting hair taken from the back of your head, which is less sensitive to the DHT and more prone to staying longer on your head hair. It's taking hair from there and it's implanting it into the areas where you receded. And it's important that you don't take a hair transplant too early, because if you imagine if you take it a bit earlier, when you've only got sort of mild recession of the hair, you could get the transplant and that would fill the gap. Then you get further receding down the line, so it's just going to make a mess of the situation. So that's why generally recommend that you let your hair loss stabilize a bit until you figure out where the real gaps are that you need to fill with a hair transplant. If you're at the opposite side and you've got a decent head of hair and you haven't really noticed much receding yet, but you may be getting to that age, like myself, I'm 33 now, so all men, unfortunately, can't survive the sort of battle with time, because any man in the 50s is going to have worse hair in terms of thickness than they do in the 20s. So DHT has an effect on everyone. So if you are in your 30s, for example, and you're conscious that you do want to keep your hair, we recommend the early prevention plan. So that's what I use myself. It contains Anti-DHT shampoo. So it's a shampoo that you use just like any other, but it's got ingredients in that can counteract the detrimental impact of the DHT hormone. And we also offer biotin gummies. Biotin is a really important vitamin for your head hair. It can basically make sure you've got the nutrients that you need to sort of keep your hair as healthy and strong as it can be. So prices for the early prevention plan and prescription medication like Finasteride and Minoxidil are sort of in that ballpark of £25 to £40 a month. They're great in terms of maintaining your hair and making sure it doesn't get too much worse. If you have already got that receding and you're looking at hair transplant, they can be quite expensive, so they can range from £1,000 up to £20,000, depending on a lot of different factors, including what type of hair transplant you're getting, because there's two different types, and also the profile of your hair loss, and also which transplant specialist you're working with. But I guess the main point I want to make out is, the prescription medication that we mentioned earlier. You need to take them on a monthly basis, but actually it's one of those where for as long as you take it, you should keep your hairline, and you're not going to get to that stage later on where you need to take a transplant, which comparatively is a lot more expensive. So prevention is definitely better than cure when it comes to hair loss. But there are treatments across the whole spectrum. So I hope that's helped. If you've got any other questions, please add them in the comments underneath and we'll get back to you.